This story is titled, At My Dad's Wedding, I Refused to Toast His New Wife, and He Publicly Shamed Me. Hi, everyone. Before we dive a quick favor. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and make sure you never miss out on amazing video. Alright, let us get started. At my father's wedding, he stood there, bold as ever, and called me a disgrace for refusing to toast his new wife. So I got up, lifted my glass high, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Here's to the woman who was sleeping with my dad while my mom was dying." His best man dropped his champagne on the spot. The bride let out a scream. What happened next was so bad, even the priest walked out. The Fairmont Hotel ballroom in downtown Chicago was buzzing that night, laughter echoing off the walls, champagne glasses clinking, and a band that probably cost more than my car playing some soft, sugary tune. Everything was top shelf, towering white floral arrangements, gold-trimmed candles, linen napkins folded just so next to plates that probably cost more than a month's rent. The whole scene screamed money, class, and, if you knew the real story, pure hypocrisy. I was slouched at a round table up near the front, my whiskey glass already half-drained, my dinner sitting cold and mostly untouched. My sister, Claire, sat next to me, nervously picking at the hem of her navy blue dress. "You all right?" she asked under her breath. I let out a slow exhale through my nose. "Peachy." Her eyes kept darting toward our father, Richard Holloway, the star of the show, standing proudly by the dance floor with his arm wrapped around his new bride, Veronica. Veronica, the same woman who'd been in his life long before our mom had taken her last breath. My fingers tightened around my glass. Truth be told, I wasn't even supposed to be here. I had zero plans to show up. When that fancy gold-trimmed invitation landed in my mailbox, I tossed it straight into the trash without a second thought. But then Claire called. "Alex, please," she'd said, her voice cracking over the line. "I know you hate him. I do too. But I can't do this alone." I remember sighing, pinching the bridge of my nose. "You really want to sit through Dad marrying her?" I asked. "No," she admitted. "But if I have to suffer through it, I want you next to me." And just like that, I found myself flying back to Chicago, stuck in a suit, sitting at a wedding that should have never happened, watching my father play the hero in his own make-believe fairy tale. The worst part, everyone was eating it up. To them, Richard Holloway was still that respected big-shot lawyer, a devoted dad, a grieving husband who had found love again. Bull. Absolute bull. None of them knew the real story. None of them knew that while my mom, Margaret Holloway, was wasting away from ovarian cancer, barely strong enough to lift a glass of water, Richard was sneaking off to be with Veronica. And now here we were. Claire leaned in, whispering, "You drinking that? Or just staring at it?" I blinked, realizing I was still gripping my whiskey like it was a lifeline. I took a slow sip, feeling the familiar burn slide down my throat. "Both," I muttered back. She let out a tiny laugh but stayed tense. "I don't know how you're not flipping this table over," she whispered. "Who says I'm not about to?" I said, half smiling. I could feel Richard's eyes drifting toward me all night. He didn't want me here. I didn't fit into his shiny new world. But Claire had twisted his arm into inviting me, and he'd probably prayed I would decline. Tough luck, Dad. Just when I was debating whether to order another drink, Richard had to push it. He tapped his glass with a fork. The whole ballroom fell silent. He cleared his throat, flashing that courtroom smile that had probably gotten him out of 1,000 tight spots. "First off," he said, "I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This day means the world to Veronica and me. We're surrounded by friends, by family." The applause that followed was polite, the kind you hear at graduations or charity dinners. I clenched my jaw so tight I thought my teeth might crack. "New chapter," he said. Yeah, like Mom's death was just the last page of an old story he couldn't wait to forget. He kept going. "And of course, I want to recognize my amazing children Claire and Alex." My stomach twisted into a knot. "They've been through a lot this year," he said, "and I know transitions aren't easy. Claire, sweetheart, you've been incredible." I couldn't be prouder. Claire gave a tight, strained smile. Then Richard turned to me. "And Alex," he said, holding my stare like he was daring me to say something. "I know we've had our differences, but family is family, and in the spirit of unity, I'd love for you to say a few words." The room was dead silent. I stared at him, stunned. Had he lost his damn mind? I glanced at Claire, who looked like she was about to fall off her chair. My father smiled at me, wide and fake. "Come on, son," he coaxed. "Don't be a disgrace." Disgrace. The word echoed through my skull like a gunshot. And right then and there, something in me just snapped. I rose from my chair slowly, grabbing my glass, feeling the weight of every eye in that glittering room land on me. I took a breath, and I said it. Here's to the woman who was sleeping with my dad while my mom was dying. The gas that followed could have shattered the chandeliers. Someone dropped their silverware with a loud clatter. Richard's best man fumbled his champagne glass, sending it crashing to the floor. Veronica's face went ghost white, the blood draining right out of her carefully contoured cheeks. And that's when the whole room exploded. I was there, Dad, I said, my voice shaking but firm. I watched what it did to her. I sat by Mom's side as she wasted away in that hospital bed, while you were off screwing Veronica. Claire sucked in a sharp breath beside me, but she stayed silent. Richard took a slow breath, like he was trying to stay calm, trying to keep control. You don't understand what my marriage with your mother was like, he said stiffly. I felt something freeze deep inside me. Excuse me? I asked, my voice low and dangerous. His face hardened. It wasn't perfect, Alex. He hesitated, then shook his head sharply. There were problems long before Veronica ever came into the picture. I stared at him, absolutely stunned. You don't get to do that, I said, my anger rising fast. You don't get to rewrite history just because it makes you feel better. My voice was climbing, years of anger bubbling up to the surface. She loved you. She trusted you. And you repaid her by cheating on her while she was dying. His jaw tightened like he was clenching back 1,000 excuses. I was unhappy, he muttered. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. You were unhappy, I repeated, stepping closer. You have any idea how much pain Mom was in? How she clung to you, hoping you still loved her, hoping you might actually be there when she needed you most. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. And what were you doing? Bored? Needing some excitement? His face darkened dangerously. Watch it, he growled. No, I shot back, stepping even closer. You watch yourself, because I'm done letting you pretend you're some poor victim in all this. I pointed at him, the old anger burning hot in my chest. You chose Veronica. You chose yourself. You didn't choose Mom. You sure as hell didn't choose us. Silence fell heavy between us. For the first time I could remember, there was something flickering across my father's face, something that almost looked like shame. But just as quick, it vanished. He straightened his jacket like he was slipping right back into character. If you walk away now, he said coldly, you walk away for good. No coming back. There it was. The threat. He thought he could still scare me into staying. But what he didn't get was, I'd already lost the most important person in my life. Losing him? That didn't scare me one bit. I squared my shoulders, locking eyes with him. If that's the price, I said calmly, then yeah, that's exactly what I want. Claire let out a small gasp next to me, but she didn't say a word. She didn't try to stop me. Richard's face stayed cold and hard, his jaw locked tight. Don't come crawling back when you regret it, he warned. I shook my head slowly. I won't. And just like that, I turned my back on him. Claire hesitated for a heartbeat. Then she was right there with me, following me out. We didn't look back. Not once. The night air hit like a slap when we stepped outside. The cold stung my cheeks, but I welcomed it. My legs felt like concrete, my breathing shallow, but I kept moving forward. Richard didn't call after us. He didn't come running. And honestly, good. I didn't expect him to. Richard Holloway never chased after anything he thought he owned. We passed a few hotel staff outside taking smoke breaks, none of them giving us more than a passing glance. They were probably still buzzing about the drama back inside. Claire sniffled, hugging herself tighter. You good? I asked her, my voice rough. She gave a short, breathless laugh. Good? Alex, I don't even know what just happened. She stopped walking and faced me, searching my face. Do you even realize what you did in there? I rubbed my hands over my face. Yeah, I said after a second. Yeah, I do. Her eyes narrowed like she was studying me. And, do you regret it? I paused, but the answer was easy. No, I said honestly. Not for a second. Claire let out a long breath, her shoulders sagging like she'd been holding everything in two. Yeah, she said softly. Me neither. We stood there, just the two of us, the Chicago skyline blinking faintly behind the haze of cold air. For the first time in a long time, there was no pretending, no faking smiles. Just us. Raw and real. Then Claire chuckled. A real laugh this time. Breathless and almost unbelieving. Jesus Christ, Alex, she said, grinning wide. You made the priest walk out. I couldn't help but smirked. Yeah, I said. That was definitely a new one. Claire shook her head, still smiling, but the edge of sadness crept back in. So what now, she asked. I looked up at the night sky, letting the cold settle in my lungs. I don't know, I admitted. But I know one thing. I'm not going back in there. She followed my gaze, then nodded slowly. Fair enough, she said. Just as we were turning toward the parking lot, the doors swung open hard behind us. Alex. We both spun around. It was Veronica. She stormed out of the building, hiking up her expensive lace wedding dress so she could chase after us. Her perfectly curled blonde hair was starting to frizz at the edges, her makeup still flawless, but her face twisted in pure, seething rage. Claire let out a low groan beside me. Here we go, she muttered. Oh, for fuck's sake, I muttered under my breath. Veronica came storming toward us, her heels clacking angrily against the pavement like gunshots. When she stopped a few feet away, she jabbed a perfectly manicured finger straight into my chest. You ruined my wedding, she hissed, her face twisted with rage. I cocked my head to the side, not moving an inch. Did I? I said casually. Or did you ruin your own life the minute you decided it was a good idea to screw a married man? Her eyes practically burned holes through me. You arrogant little, she started. Careful. I cut her off, my voice low and steady. Wouldn't want the guests to overhear the blushing bride throwing a full-blown tantrum out here. She actually stomped her foot like a kid throwing a fit. You think this is funny? She shrieked. You think humiliating us in front of everyone was some kind of personal victory? I crossed my arms and leaned back slightly. I think it was the truth. Something you and my dad don't seem to be real familiar with. Her nostrils flared so hard I thought she might pass out. You selfish little piece of crap, she spat. Claire let out a sharp breath beside me, but stayed silent. Veronica took another angry step forward. Your father gave you everything. He built a life for you, and this is how you repay him. I took a long, steady breath. You want to talk about repayment, Veronica? I said. My mother gave him 25 years of loyalty, of love. She stayed by his side while she was literally fighting for her life. And you? I pointed straight at her. You were the one helping him tear it all apart. Her mouth opened like she had something to say, but nothing came out. Claire whispered under her breath. Damn. But Veronica recovered quick. Your father doesn't deserve this, she snapped. He's suffered enough. And that's when I felt something in me just snap. Suffered enough? I repeated, my voice slicing the air. You hear yourself? My mother died. And you think he was the one who suffered? Veronica's face twisted like she was about to spit venom. Margaret, she started. Don't. I barked, stepping in close enough that she flinched. Don't you dare say her name. She swallowed hard, but didn't back down. You don't get to pretend you cared about her, I said, my voice deadly calm. You don't get to stand there in your stolen wedding dress and act like today was some kind of fairy tale. You're not the start of a new chapter. You're just another footnote in a book of lies. For the first time all night, she had nothing left to say. Claire crossed her arms and said quietly, Are we done here? Veronica's lips pressed into a tight, furious line. Then, without another word, she spun on her heel and stomped back toward the hotel. Wow, Claire muttered, watching her go. That was dramatic. I exhaled slowly, finally feeling the weight in my chest start to lift. Yeah. And I'm exhausted. Claire looked at me, a little more serious now. You sure you're okay? I paused, feeling the cold air sting my skin. I don't know, I admitted honestly. But I think I will be. She nodded thoughtfully. Then, out of nowhere, she smirked. Since we're already dressed up and out in the city, she said, looping her arm through mine. How about we go get some overpriced cocktails at some fancy bar and pretend we actually belong there? A small, real smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. That might be the best idea you've had all night. She squeezed my arm gently. Then let's get the hell out of here. And just like that, we turned our backs on the Fairmont Hotel and everything it stood for, leaving behind the wreckage of my father's perfect night. For the first time in a long, long time, I felt free. We walked down the busy Chicago streets, the buzz of traffic and city life wrapping around us like a shield. The cold air bit into my face, but I welcomed it. It felt clean, new. You really gonna be okay? Claire asked again, her voice softer this time. I let out a slow breath. I think so, I said. You. She shrugged, looking almost surprised at herself. Honestly? I thought I'd be wrecked, she said. I thought I'd be drowning in guilt for torching Dad's perfect little world. She trailed off, then grinned wide. But you know what? I feel amazing. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time that night. Good, I said. You deserve to. We ended up in this swanky cocktail bar in River North, The kind of place where everyone looks like they just stepped off a fashion runway. We definitely didn't fit in. Didn't care either. We slid into a leather booth tucked into the back, ordered 2 outrageously expensive drinks, and just breathed. You know he's going to come after us, right? Claire said, swirling her martini. I nodded, sipping my whiskey. Yeah, but I don't give a damn. She smirked and clinked her glass against mine. So, what's next? I leaned back in the booth, feeling lighter than I had in years. We finished what we started, and that's exactly what we did. The next morning, our phones exploded. Texts, missed calls, social media blowing up. Turns out, somebody at the wedding had filmed my little toast. By noon, it was all over the internet. Groom's son exposes affair at wedding. Chicago lawyer's wedding turns into public disaster. Epic wedding toast calls out cheating father. Claire nearly choked on her coffee reading the headlines. Holy crap, Alex, she gasped. We broke the goddamn internet. I scrolled through the comments, grinning. Justice for Margaret. Imagine getting roasted like that on your wedding day. Low-key, the priest walking out was the best part. Karma served cold. I laughed until my sides hurt. Finally, the truth was out there. You think Dad's seen it yet? Claire asked. Like clockwork, my phone buzzed. Richard Holloway. I watched it ring. Claire raised an eyebrow. You gonna answer? I took a slow sip of my coffee. Nope. She grinned. Cold, she said approvingly. But we weren't done yet. Over the next few days, my father's reputation crumbled like a sandcastle in a hurricane. His law firm, which prided itself on integrity and honor, started bleeding clients. Big ones. Then, people started digging. Turns out Veronica wasn't his first affair. Not even close. There were others. A lot of others. And some of them happened way before Mom ever got sick. We didn't have to lift a finger. The internet took care of everything. A week later, Dad stepped down from his firm. A week after that, Veronica scrubbed her social media and disappeared. And not long after, she left him. Guess the life of a scandalized gold digger wasn't as glamorous as she'd hoped. 2 months after the wedding, she packed her bags and walked right out of his life. Poetic justice. One afternoon, Claire and I visited Mom's grave. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft gold and pink. I placed fresh lilies beside her stone, brushing off a few fallen leaves. Hey, Mom, I murmured. You won't believe what we did. Claire knelt down, smiling through misty eyes. You would have loved it, she whispered. I stared at her name carved into that cold stone, feeling something shift inside me, something finally starting to heal. For the first time in years, I could breathe. Richard tried reaching out once. A voicemail. Alex, I know things got out of hand, but you're still my son. We should talk. I deleted it without even blinking. Claire and I moved on. We built lives he couldn't touch. Last I heard, Richard Holloway was living alone in a downtown condo, with nothing but regrets and broken dreams for company. And honestly, that was more satisfying than any revenge I could have planned. For the first time in my life, I was free. And that was enough.